Hi everyone again, here's Mr. Seif, and today we're gonna be talking about really interesting topic in science, which is the second part of the lesson speaks about the non-renewable sources of energy. What does it mean, non-renewable? Let me remind you, non-renewable means limited. So they are going to be finished one day, such as the fossil fuel. We have many forms of fuel, and they are in front of you on the screen here. Number one here is the oil, but I don't mean the oil that can be used in cooking exactly. I mean the oil that represents the petrol, that we use it in our cars and make them move. Number two is the natural gas. The natural gas also one of the fuel forms. Number three here is the wood, because the wood actually represents a substance, produces heat when it's burned. Number four is the coal, and the coal here represents a substance. Definitely it's non-renewable, but it's really important in our life, especially in producing the electricity. So what are the uses of the fossil fuel that makes them really important? Number one, we can use them in cooking food, such as burning coal or burning the pieces of wood. Also, we use the fossil fuel to generate electricity in the electric power stations. Number three, in warming, we use some of the fossil fuel forms to warm our body, such as the heater or maybe burning some pieces of wood to warm our body if it's a cold day. Number four, operating all means of transportations, such as cars and trains. And here are conclusion for the previous part. The renewable sources of energy represented by sun, wind, the energy that produced by water, such as rain, or maybe the hydroelectric energy, which is the waves or the flow of water, as we mentioned before. Non-renewable sources of energy, such as the fossil fuel forms, such as coal, oil, and natural gas. We have big difference between renewable and non-renewable, not just in the examples, in the effect. For example, the renewable sources are clean. They are useful for us and our environment, such as the sun. It's useful for you and in the environment, and no wastes or harmful are produced by the sun to you. Maybe the wind also is renewable source, maybe the water is renewable source, but they don't have any harmful effect on our environment. The matter is different on the other hand, on the non-renewable sources of energy, such as wood, maybe coal, maybe oil, because when we burn them to make them useful, the carbon dioxide and the harmful gases that are produced by the non-renewable sources have harmful effects for our environment. Also, they are limited, so one day they're gonna be finished. We have a different classification for the fuels. Let's speak about the second part of the lesson. We can classify the fuel into two main types. Number one is biofuel. The other one is fossil fuel. If you want to know the difference, let me explain. Let's start by the biological fuel. Biological refers to bio, and bio means alive. So it refers always to a living organism's body, especially plant's part, which means the biological fuel, it's a fuel represented by a part of a living organism, which is the plant, sometimes vegetables and fruits, and the pieces of coal that produced by the plant. And the biofuel here is renewable. Why? Because we have it every day. We can plant every day. So the biofuel is renewable. I have some notes. I need you to study them because they are really important. Number one, the wood is the oldest fuel that is still used until now. That's the oldest one. And it's really important in many applications, such as burning and generating electricity. Also, warming and cooking. The next note is the plant parts, such as corn, vegetables, and fruits. They are renewable source of energy because they are limitless and they never end. But let's talk about the second part of the fuel, which is fossil fuel. The fossil fuel refers to a part of an animal or a plant's body, and they were buried underground long time ago. Then they turn into one of the following forms. Some of them turn into coal, especially the parts of the plant. So when the plant parts are dying and they are buried underground for a long time by the effect of the heat and pressure For a long time, they are separate and buried underground, especially in the sedimentary rocks. This is kind of rocks that has layers. They turn into coal, so the coal was in the past a plant. The oil forms were in the past parts of animals, and they actually were buried underground for a long time, isolated from the oxygen and the living organisms. This is what turned them into oil by the effect of the heat and the pressure underground. So oil were animals, but I mean really old animals. So we consider both of them are non-renewable sources of energy, because one day the amount of the coal and the oil underground will be finished. Let me explain more about the formation of the fossil fuel. Let's start by the coal. The coal was actually part of the plant or the whole plant, and they fell down in somehow, and they were buried underground by formation of layers of rocks. As you can see here, they are isolated by the sedimentary rock from the oxygen and the microorganisms. The effect of the pressure and heat turn them into coal, and they are waiting underground to be discovered. So the coal was an old plant. So what about the animals? So when the old animals die actually and face the same conditions, when they buried underground for a long time, isolated from the oxygen and microorganisms, they turn in somehow into oil and natural gas. So oil and natural gas were previously the animals. Because you were very smart in the previous lesson, I created the best gift ever, the extreme game. Let's play together. Here we go. You have here one of the renewable sources and non-renewable sources. You need to click on the renewable one, but be careful. It comes really fast and it's more than 10 levels. As much as you can, avoid clicking on non-renewable one, otherwise you will lose. Wind, tidal, solar, geothermal means the heat of the earth, eolic. I finished level 1. So what's gonna happen if you click on a non-renewable source like this, and also it delays your time? Look here, the time is running out, and if you didn't finish them in the suitable time, if you didn't collect much more stars in the same level, you're gonna lose. So if you like the video, if you like the game, don't forget to give me a like, subscribe if you didn't make yet. Don't forget to ask me any question you want in the comments below and tell me your score. Goodbye.